In one way or another, stress is a part of our lives every day. And joining me now to share some natural ways to relieve stress is Dr. Clark Hansen from the Hansen Clinic of Natural Medicine. It's good to see you, Dr.
Thank you.
Hansen. You know, we've been talking a lot about stress lately because it does directly affect your health, doesn't it? I don't think people realize how much it affects them.
I think every patient I see stress as a real important part or cause of their illness. It's just part of our lives, and sometimes we just expect it, but usually it just kind of broadsides us, and we've come to expect a little bit, but it's just overwhelming us.
You know, sometimes people will say to me, oh, you're just under stress. I'm like, well, am I? I mean, is there a way to test if you're under stress and how much stress?
Yeah, that's something that we have really found recently we need to test, because people don't really realize how much this affects them. And we can actually test these stress hormones and find out what your level is. Most doctors don't test. They just prescribe. And most patients don't want drugs because they know those side effects of these drugs can be awful.
Right.
And so we test. We can measure your stress hormones. You've got adrenaline. Everybody knows what adrenaline feels like when you're on the freeway and you have to swerve out of harm's way.
Sure.
Your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate goes up. But what we have found is that this can last much longer than just a few minutes from something quick like that. And our rushed, hurried, pressured commitments, confrontations, relationship issues, we have these constant bombardment of stress in our pace of our life today.
Exactly.
So it's just creating these stress hormones that just build up and last, and causing not only high blood pressure, but actually double the risk of dying of heart disease.
Wow. And things like anxiety, depression, that all plays into it, right?
So it's just a kind of a progression from stress to anxiety. Where do you call it anxiety? If we have it for a prolonged period of time, it just keeps building up. And depression, they usually go together. So it's just, we just can't get over it without some kind of, if you're going out in the desert on a 3-day wilderness hike, you'd know to take lots of water. But when we go through periods of stress, we don't know what to do. We just kind of get bound up until we just can't focus and can't concentrate and can't function anymore.
Right, and that's what you brought, some alternative choices to things like anxiety and depression, and sometimes people just don't have the energy, they feel sluggish, there's just so much going on. And talk about what you have here.
Okay, well, what I love about what I do is this really just changes people's lives. In 22 years, I found out what works, what doesn't, what nature has created. We've got herbal formulations that I put together from my experience that have been used for centuries, and the combination of what really makes a difference. So for stress and anxiety, I found a product that I call Tranquil Clarity. In Fiji, in the Polynesian Islands, they use kava kava. Before they have these negotiations for boundary disputes, it actually helps calm the senses and increase mental acuity, mental alertness. So the Tranquil Clarity helps calm this tension that you've got going on, this high flow of these stress hormones, and actually makes you more alert and able to remember things, whereas the drugs actually make you confused, depressed. The anti-anxiety medications are depressants, so instead of being anxious, now you're depressed and suicidal. And you can't think, and you actually get uncoordinated and slurred speech. That's why people avoid all these drugs.
Right.
But with nature, you can take these products that actually build up your system, that actually build your reserves of the calming neurohormones.
Is it enough? I mean, do you have to change your life pattern as well? I mean, is this going to be enough to get you through? Because a lot of people are so wound up.
It's what gets people started so that they can take back their life. Then obviously you're going to have stresses. We can't get rid of people's stress. What we do is help them cope with the stress. And we test to find out what neurohormones are missing, and we give the building blocks the body needs to make them.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, too, some of the plants that you were talking about that they've used, and we have actual pictures of them. This is the one that I think you mentioned earlier.
That's kava kava in Fiji. That is just an incredible, plant that nature's given us to help calm down those stress hormones. And the body just takes that in because it can work with that. It knows it. It's made from nature. It's not something that's unique to the planet. In order to patent a drug, it has to be totally, not found on planet Earth.
Right. And then this one?
That's St. John's wort. Isn't that a beautiful flower? That actually helps to stimulate increased production of serotonin, the joyful neurohormone. So that helps calm the body, helps you sleep. Most of the medications for depression actually disrupt sleep, so you don't get that deep, restful sleep. And you need serotonin to help you sleep. Yeah,
and I like what you said earlier, too, about serotonin. So if you think about planning a trip, let's say, to Hawaii, even if it's a year from now, just the thought of planning it and thinking about going raises your serotonin level.
Exactly. What makes me happy to be a physician is seeing patients get through these things without the drugs they become dependent on. Because the drugs, I see patients who try to go off them and they can't, because the drugs actually block the recycling of these neurohormones, so the body doesn't make any more. So you're dependent on the drugs. So you try to go off and you can't get off until you build up these building blocks. So in our office we test to see what your serotonin level is, see what your norepinephrine level is, dopamine, GABA, and then we can actually give the building blocks so your body can make them. You stop the runaway mind train of this activity of mind you can't shut off, the worries, the anxieties. You get calm and you find joy back in your life again. And I see patients who tell me that without this, they just were in a never-ending spiral downward. 14, 15 years on drugs and could never get off.
Sounds like it puts your life back in perspective, too.
Exactly.
Things kind of fell out back in order. Thanks a lot, Dr. Hansen.
Right,
really good information. And if you want more information about what we just talked about, these natural remedies, you can go to the Hansen Clinic of Natural Medicine or go to drhansen.com, and there is the phone number you see right there on your screen.